The standard advice for building wealth is mathematically broken. You are told to wake up at 5 in the morning, sacrifice your $6 cold brew, and clip coupons until you are 65. It is an algorithmic trap designed by people who make money selling books, not running businesses. If saving money were the actual variable that determined net worth, your accountant would be the richest person in the building. He is not. The system wants you focused on micro decisions, because micro decisions keep you small. While you are agonizing over whether to buy the corporate lunch or pack a turkey sandwich, you are missing the macro lever that actually moves the needle. True wealth creation is not a game of defensive deprivation. It is a game of aggressive asset architecture. Consider the brutal paradox of the modern knowledge worker. You sit at a desk in Manhattan or Austin, chugging Dunkin' or Starbucks at 6 in the morning to sync with East Coast market hours. You stare at a monitor for 9 hours, fielding passive-aggressive Slack pings and sitting through Zoom calls that could have been 3-sentence emails. Your calendar looks like a game of Tetris played by someone who hates you. You are exhausted by 4 in the afternoon, yet your bank account barely flinches at the end of the month. You are trading your peak cognitive performance for a fixed fiat salary, while your executive team captures the equity upside. This is not an accident. It is the natural consequence of playing a game where you do not own the rules. To break out of this loop, you have to understand the psychological phenomenon known as preference falsification. You tell your coworkers you want the promotion. You tell your parents you want the corporate stability. But your Google searches tell a completely different story. Late at night, long after your DoorDash delivery has arrived, you are researching independent business models, automated software pipelines, and consulting frameworks. You are living a double life. Your physical body is trapped in a cubicle, while your digital brain is hunting for an escape hatch. The problem is that hunting is not executing. Wishing for a financial breakthrough while maintaining your exact same daily operational inputs is a form of functional insanity. Human beings are biological organisms governed by energy conservation algorithms. Your brain consumes 20% of your total metabolic energy, despite weighing only 2% of its mass. When you force it to process vague, non-quantified desires, it experiences severe cognitive drag. Think of your mind like a laptop with 40 Chrome tabs open simultaneously. If you tell yourself you simply want to make more money, your brain has to constantly scan the horizon for every possible variable. Should you buy real estate? Should you launch a Shopify store? Should you ask for a raise? This constant scanning drains your brain's battery before you ever take a single action. The psychological literature on choice overload confirms this. When presented with too many options, the human organism freezes. You do not pick the best option, you pick the easiest option, which is usually opening an app and scrolling through Reddit until your phone hits your face. To bypass this neurological defense mechanism, you must introduce absolute specificity. You do not want more money. You want a specific, non-negotiable dollar amount deposited into your business checking account via Stripe by a fixed calendar date. When you give the brain a singular variable, the background processing stops. The laptop closes 39 tabs. The entire cognitive engine focuses on a single target. Let us build an operational protocol for this. Open a blank document on your laptop right now. Do not write a 5-year business plan that you will never read again. Write down your absolute minimum survival number. This is your baseline expense metric. Include your rent or mortgage, your car payment, your groceries, your student loans, and your health insurance. Let us assume that number is $6,000. That's your baseline. Now calculate your escape velocity number. This is the exact monthly revenue your independent business or consulting stack needs to generate to completely replace your after-tax W-2 income, plus an extra 30% to cover your own benefits and self-employment taxes. Let us say that number is $12,500.
Once you have that number, you must define the exact value transaction that will produce it. Money does not materialize out of thin air because you repeated an affirmation into your bathroom mirror. Money is a representation of value stored and transferred. To get $12,500 a month, you must deliver something that the market values at $25,000. The market is not emotional. It does not care about your dreams, your effort, or your student loan debt. It only cares about utility. If you're a graphic designer offering generic logos, you are competing with $3 templates. If you're a conversion rate optimization specialist fixing the checkout flow for e-commerce brands doing 8 figures, you can charge $10,000 a month for a single contract. Now introduce the temporal constraint. Set a deadline that is close enough to cause mild psychological panic, but distant enough to allow for actual execution. 90 days is the optimal human horizon. Anything longer than 90 days triggers Parkinson's law, meaning the work will expand to fill the time available. Anything shorter than 90 days does not allow for a full product iteration cycle. Once you have the number, the transaction, and the deadline, write it down in a single sentence, print it out, stick it to the bezel of your monitor. Your brain needs a constant visual anchor to override the default distractions of the modern internet. This leads us to the concept of psychological conditioning. Most self-help gurus treat mindsets like a magic trick. They tell you to believe in yourself, as if your internal emotional state can override the physical laws of supply and demand. Let's look at this through a colder, more clinical lens. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. It takes the information it receives most frequently and uses it to construct your baseline reality. If you spend your morning listening to your coworkers complain about layoffs in the break room and your evening watching doom-loop financial news on television, your brain concludes that the world is a dangerous, scarce environment. It will actively prevent you from taking risks because its primary objective is your survival, not your fulfillment. To reprogram this automation, you must control the data inputs. This is not about positive thinking, it is about environmental engineering. If you leave your digital environment unmanaged, the algorithms will manage it for you. TikTok, Instagram, and X are engineered by teams of behavioral psychologists whose sole purpose is to keep your eyes glued to the screen so they can serve ads to your face. Trying to fight these algorithms with raw willpower is like trying to hold your breath underwater for an hour. You will lose. You have to physically remove the friction to focus.
Delete the social apps from your phone during working hours. Use software blockers to lock yourself out of entertainment sites from 8 in the morning until noon. Replace that digital noise with targeted case studies of people who have actually built what you want to build. If you want to scale a B2B SaaS company, read the raw postmortems of founders who failed 3 times before hitting 8 figures. If you want to build a solo consulting business, study the landing pages, the pricing models, and the cold email scripts of the top operators in your niche. Force your pattern recognition machine to consume data that confirms your target is not only possible, but highly repeatable. The massive error most corporate professionals make when attempting to escape the 9-to-5 is the accumulation of generalized knowledge. You go back to school for an MBA. You take a comprehensive course on business administration. You read 40-volume biographies of industrial titans from the 19th century. This is a form of productive procrastination. It feels like work, it looks like work to your friends, but it results in zero market revenue. General knowledge is an infinite commodity. It can be found for free via a basic web search or an AI prompt. In the modern economy, generalists are outsourced, automated, or downsized. Wealth flows to specialized knowledge stacks. You do not want to be a general marketer. You want to be the person who writes high-converting email sequences specifically for medical device companies using HubSpot. You do not want to be a general software developer. You want to be the engineer who specializes in securing smart contracts for decentralized finance platforms. When your knowledge is that specific, you do not compete on price.
You do not have to bid against thousands of freelancers on cheap digital marketplaces. Clients find you because you are the only person who solves their exact high-ticket problem. Look at how the market rewards specialization. A general practitioner doctor makes a comfortable living. A neurosurgeon who only operates on a specific type of brain tumor makes 10 times that amount, flies private, and commands absolute authority. The general practitioner knows more total facts about the human body than the neurosurgeon, but the neurosurgeon knows the specific variables that prevent a patient from dying on the table during a critical hour. Find your micro-niche. Go deep instead of wide. It is far better to be everything to 10 specific businesses than to be nothing to 10,000. Once you have identified your specialized stack, you must engage in structured imagination. This is not daydreaming about driving an Italian sports car down the Pacific Coast Highway. That is a low-level dopamine hit that actually reduces your motivation to work. True cognitive simulation is tactical. It is the process of mentally running through your execution models to find the structural flaws before you burn real capital or time. It is what an aerospace engineer does when running a virtual wind tunnel test on a new wing design. Sit quietly at your desk for 5 minutes every morning before you open your laptop. Do not look at your phone, close your eyes, and walk through your upcoming high-leverage tasks. If you have a sales call scheduled for 2 in the afternoon, do not just hope it goes well. Mentally simulate the prospect's objections. Picture them saying your price is too high. See yourself responding calmly, pointing to your data case studies and reframing the cost as an investment. If you are writing a piece of complex code, mentally trace the logic paths to see where the system will break under load. By the time you actually open your laptop, you have already executed the task perfectly once. The physical execution is just a formality. But mental simulation without organized planning is just a hallucination. The internet is full of solo creators who have spent 2 years designing their logos, picking their brand colors, and updating their LinkedIn headlines, but have never actually launched a product or sent a cold pitch. They are terrified of market feedback. As long as their business exists only in their heads, it cannot fail. The moment they launch it, they have to face the brutal reality of market validation. If the market ignores them, their ego breaks. So they stay in the planning phase forever, tweaking their Notion dashboards and calling themselves entrepreneurs. You need an agile execution framework. Stop trying to build a flawless system from day one. Your first product iteration will be clumsy. Your first sales script will feel awkward. Your first landing page will look unpolished. Accept this as a structural law of business engineering. The goal is not to launch a perfect product. The goal is to get data back from the market as fast as possible. If you launch a basic version of your service and 20 prospects tell you the price is reasonable but the delivery timeline is too slow, you have just received invaluable data. You do not drop your price, you optimize your delivery pipeline. If your plan fails, it is not an indicator of your permanent identity. It is an engineering signal. If an experimental rocket explodes on the launch pad at SpaceX, the engineers don't cry, wrap themselves in a blanket, and say they are not meant to build rockets. They look at the telemetry data. They find the exact valve that failed to hold pressure at T plus 40 seconds. They redesign the valve, rebuild the rocket, and launch it again. Treat your business inputs exactly like that telemetry data. If your cold email campaign gets a 0% response rate, your identity did not fail, your subject line failed. Change the variable, run another sample size of 100 emails, and read the new data. This brings us to the element of fast decision-making. High-performance operators make decisions with blinding speed and modify them with extreme reluctance. Low-performance workers take months to make a simple decision, then abandon it at the first sign of friction. Think about the corporate managers you see every day. They schedule a meeting to prepare for a meeting to discuss a potential software shift. They spend 6 months analyzing vendors, writing requests for proposals, and building slide decks. By the time they finally make a decision, the market has already moved on, or a nimble competitor has completely eaten their market share. When you delay a decision, you are paying an invisible psychological tax. Every undecided choice creates an open loop in your cognitive architecture. It sits in the background of your mind, consuming RAM and slowing down your overall performance. If you are debating whether to pivot your business model, give yourself exactly 48 hours to gather data. Talk to 2 experts, look at your financial spreadsheets, and make the call. Once the decision is made, execute it with absolute aggression for 90 days. Do not evaluate it after 1 week. Do not second-guess yourself because someone left a negative comment on your LinkedIn post. Give the decision enough runway to prove itself true or false through real data. The greatest destroyer of wealth in the modern digital age is shiny object syndrome. You decide to build a high-ticket agency. You buy the domain, you set up your Slack workspace, and you begin your outreach. Then you open your phone and see a video of a 22-year-old creator claiming he makes $80,000 a month doing faceless YouTube channels using automation tools. Suddenly, your agency feels slow and difficult. You drop the agency, buy an automation course, and spend 3 weeks generating video clips. Then you see another creator talking about Amazon storefronts or automated trading bots. You switch again.
This is the equivalent of a farmer digging up his seeds every 4 days to see if they are growing yet. If you keep moving the seed, you will end up with a field of empty holes and a dead business. Every legitimate business model works if you execute it for 1,000 consecutive days. The magic is not in the vehicle. The magic is in the sustained compounding interest of your focus. When you stick to one model, you build custom frameworks, you optimize your workflow, you build a reputation in the market, and you lower your customer acquisition cost. You move past the difficult amateur phase and enter the highly profitable leveraged phase. To survive that amateur phase, you must cultivate clinical persistence. The digital world has completely distorted our perception of time. We expect our software tools to load in 200 milliseconds. We expect our DoorDash orders to arrive in 25 minutes. We expect our Stripe dashboards to show 5-figure days within 3 weeks of launching. When this does not happen, we experience acute cognitive dissonance. We assume we are doing something wrong or that the business model is a scam. Look at the true mechanics of compounding interest. If you fold a piece of paper in half 45 times, it becomes thick enough to reach the moon. But for the first 20 folds, it is still thinner than a deck of cards. If you stop folding at 19 because it does not look impressive yet, you miss the entire exponential curve. The same rule applies to your client acquisition funnel, your software development, or your content strategy. You will spend months publishing videos, writing articles, or sending pitches with almost zero visible return. This is the dark valley of execution. The amateurs quit here and go back to browsing job boards. The professional operators lock themselves in the room, rely on their automated protocols, and keep drilling until they hit water. You cannot do this completely alone. Human beings are social primates. Our internal behavioral compass is deeply influenced by the tribal norms of our immediate peer group. If your core social circle consists of coworkers who spend their Friday nights complaining about management while ordering expensive drinks at a local lounge, you will unconsciously adapt your baseline reality to match theirs. You will start viewing a $65,000 salary as normal, a house with a 30-year mortgage as an achievement, and retirement at 65 as a victory. You cannot build a $10 million independent asset while running on the software of an average consumer. You must intentionally curate your mastermind network. In the year 2026, this does not mean joining an expensive physical business club or moving to Silicon Valley. It means building an asynchronous digital inner circle. Find 3 or 4 internet operators who are precisely 1 or 2 steps ahead of you in execution. Create a private Discord server or a dedicated WhatsApp group. Do not use it to share memes or talk about sports. Use it to post your weekly execution metrics.
Every Sunday night, every member must drop their numbers into the chat. Total outbound pitches sent, total revenue processed through Stripe, total productive hours logged via tracking software, and the singular bottleneck they are facing that week. When you see a peer post that they sent 100 cold pitches while you only sent 6, you do not need a motivational speech. Your natural competitive biology kicks in. You feel a healthy sense of shame. You open your laptop, skip the late-night television show, and get to work. This leads to the most controversial principle in high-performance psychology: energy transmutation. The human body is a highly complex chemical factory driven by primitive evolutionary imperatives. Your primary biological directive is to survive and reproduce. Your sexual energy is the most powerful creative force in your physiological inventory. It changes your voice, your physical presence, and your psychological drive. The vast majority of the modern population wastes this raw energetic payload on immediate digital gratification. They drain their chemical battery on adult sites, dating applications, and casual hookups, leaving themselves completely depleted when it is time to build their real-world enterprise. When you voluntarily close down these immediate dopamine valves, something fascinating happens to your biology. The energy does not vanish, it accumulates. It builds an internal pressure that demands expression. If you do not allow that pressure to escape through cheap physical gratification, it will naturally channel itself into your primary economic objectives. You will find yourself sitting at your desk at 9 in the evening with a level of intense, focused aggression that you cannot replicate with caffeine or energy drinks. You will attack your work with a raw, creative hunger because you have forced your biological system to view your business success as its primary survival and status vector. This is the hidden engine behind the world's most aggressive builders, founders, and creators. They are not smarter than you. They do not have access to a secret software tool. They simply operate on a completely different chemical baseline. They take their primal drives and channel them directly into their code, their copy, their product design, and their strategic execution. They treat their physical body like a high-performance machine, keeping the inputs clean so the creative outputs remain razor-sharp. To keep those outputs sharp, you must master the architecture of your subconscious mind. Most people interact with their subconscious only through their anxieties. When you lie down to sleep at night, your brain does not turn off. It begins sorting through the emotional data from your day. If your day was filled with passive-aggressive emails, fear of economic downturns, and constant social comparison, your subconscious spends 8 hours processing those exact negative signals. It views them as your top priorities. When you wake up, your default mental state is instantly set to defensive anxiety. You must build a concrete firewall around your evening routine. Never look at your work emails or check your financial dashboards within 2 hours of sleep. Nothing good happens when you check your analytics at 11 at night. If the numbers are down, you can't fix them until tomorrow, meaning you'll just ruin your sleep quality. If the numbers are up, you get a rush of cortisol that keeps your brain alert for hours. Instead, spend the final 15 minutes of your waking day loading your subconscious with structured execution puzzles. Write down a specific problem you are trying to solve in your business on a physical index card. For example, how do I reduce the onboarding time for our enterprise software clients from 14 days to 48 hours? Read that question 3 times, close your eyes, and let your mind drift off while considering it. You are handing a specific calculation task to your subconscious computer while your conscious brain goes offline. It is extremely common to wake up at 6 the next morning, open your notebook, and watch the exact step-by-step solution pour out of your pen during your morning coffee. Your brain is a biological broadcasting and receiving tower. It operates on specific frequencies. When you are constantly shifting your focus, jumping from one business model to another, or changing your core financial target every 3 weeks, your tower is broadcasting white noise. The market cannot hear you. Partners cannot align with you. High-value clients cannot spot you in the crowd. You look like a chaotic amateur who is trying to tune in to 10 different radio stations at the exact same time. Pick your channel and stay there until your signal cuts through the static. If you decide to build a fractional executive agency for high-growth tech startups, stay on that exact frequency for 12 months. Optimize your LinkedIn profile for that exact phrase. Publish content that addresses that exact problem. Attend events where those specific founders hang out. After 6 months of consistent broadcasting, the network effect takes over. Startups will begin mentioning your name in private Slack channels. Venture capital firms will add you to their trusted vendor lists. Opportunities will start hitting your inbox without you sending a single outbound pitch. You didn't get lucky, you simply left the dial on the exact same frequency long enough for the receiver to lock onto your position.
This structural alignment unlocks your sixth sense, which is nothing more than your pattern recognition engine operating at maximum efficiency. When you have spent thousands of hours studying a single industry, your brain begins spotting microtrends before they show up in spreadsheets or public market reports. You develop a physical intuition for business execution. You will read a landing page and instantly feel a slight psychological friction, allowing you to fix the copy before launching the ad spend. You will jump on a discovery call with a prospective client and know within 90 seconds whether they will be a high-leverage partner or a nightmare customer who demands a refund after 2 weeks. This intuition is not mystical, it is data-driven. It is the result of your subconscious processing millions of historical microdata points that your conscious mind has forgotten. But this system only works if you keep your internal data engine perfectly clean. If you clutter your mind with political arguments on X, celebrity gossip on news sites, and constant notifications from group chats, you block out the signal. You drown out your internal compass with digital garbage. Let us run through a complete operational audit of these 13 execution principles so you can install them into your workflow today. First, define your absolute escape velocity metric. Stop using vague terms like wealth. Give me the exact dollar amount your Stripe account needs to read by the end of this quarter. Second, construct your digital auto-suggestion hub. Pin your core numbers to your desktop workspace so your conscious mind cannot ignore them during your peak working hours. Third, build your high-value specialized knowledge stack. Pick one painful, expensive problem for one clear target audience and master the execution variables. Fourth, run tactical simulations every morning. Debug your sales calls, your engineering pipelines, and your copy iterations in your head before you commit real-world resources. Fifth, build an agile execution framework. Launch fast, read the market telemetry data, and treat initial failures as simple system adjustments rather than personal identity crises. Sixth, make decisions with blinding speed. Cut down your open cognitive loops by choosing a direction within 48 hours and executing it with absolute aggression for 90 days. Seventh, delete the shiny object trap from your digital inventory. Commit to one business vehicle for 1,000 consecutive days before you allow yourself to evaluate its long-term viability. Eighth, embrace the dark valley of execution. Expect your initial outputs to return 0 visible revenue and keep drilling until you hit water. Ninth, build an asynchronous digital mastermind circle. Hold your peers accountable to raw weekly metrics inside a private workspace and remove anyone who fails to hit their self-directed milestones. 10th, protect your physiological assets. Transmute your primal creative energy away from immediate digital gratification and channel it directly into your product builds. 11th, protect your evening subconscious architecture. Treat the final 15 minutes of your day as a structured data ingestion period for your deep problem-solving computer.
12th, keep your broadcasting tower locked onto a single high-leverage frequency until the network rewards your consistency. And 13th, quiet your internal chatter to let your high-performance pattern recognition engine steer your day-to-day tactical moves. The masses will read this manual, close the window, and go back to checking their corporate email inbox while waiting for their next bi-weekly paycheck. They will spend another decade wishing for financial independence while maintaining the exact same operational habits that keep them trapped in the system. They are addicted to the comfort of their dependency. They would rather complain about the matrix than take the cold, calculated steps required to break out of it. You have a brief window of execution before the day starts, screaming for your attention. Open your laptop, initialize your document workspace, and write down your escape velocity number right now.